Here's something that might blow your mind. Before 1991, NASCAR fans had absolutely zero way to experience the thrill of Cup Series racing from their living room couches. And one legendary driver's decision to slap his name on a primitive video game would forever change how millions of people connect with America's fastest sport. But here's where it gets controversial. Was Bill Elliott's NASCAR challenge actually any good, or do we only remember it fondly because it happened to be first? The upcoming NASCAR 25 game, scheduled to hit shelves on October 14th, represents the latest chapter in what has become a remarkable technological journey. Today's NASCAR video games have transformed from simple entertainment into sophisticated simulation tools. In fact, modern platforms like iRacing have become so realistic that they've evolved from weekend hobbies into legitimate training environments for professional drivers, and even host their own competitive virtual racing series with real prize money. This incredible evolution makes you wonder, exactly when did this whole phenomenon begin? The answer takes us back to an era when 8-bit graphics were cutting-edge technology. The explosion of home video gaming kicked into high gear during the mid-1980s when Nintendo unleashed its revolutionary Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, onto American households. While iconic characters like Mario and Link from The Legend of Zelda became household names, sports-themed games quickly carved out their own massive following among fans hungry for authentic experiences. Publishers rushed to secure official licenses for major leagues. You could find games for the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, and virtually every other major sporting organization. Racing games existed in abundance during this period. Gamers could pilot everything from Formula One cars to dirt bikes, even remote-controlled vehicles, competing across various racing disciplines for virtual glory. However, there was one glaring omission from this digital racing landscape. NASCAR remained completely absent from the gaming world. That changed dramatically in 1991, when Konami made gaming history by publishing the very first officially NASCAR-licensed video game, Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge, for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The choice to feature Elliott wasn't random. This was a driver with serious credibility. Having a former NASCAR Cup Series champion not only appear in the game, but also have his face prominently displayed on the cover and his name featured in the title, sent a powerful message about authenticity to potential buyers. And this is the part most people miss. Elliott's involvement suggested that someone of his stature wouldn't risk his reputation on a subpar product, right? Well, that assumption might be worth questioning. Working within the technical constraints of 8-bit hardware, the game managed to deliver what could generously be called an adequate racing experience that balanced fun gameplay with surprising technical depth. Players started by entering their name and selecting from 3 different car options, each based on actual vehicles that competed during the 1990 NASCAR season. The first choice was a Ford that bore a striking resemblance to the iconic red number 11, machine owned by the legendary Junior Johnson, and piloted at that time by Jeffrey Bodine. Interestingly, Elliott himself would take over driving duties for that same car in 1992. The second option featured a number 5 Chevrolet that loosely mirrored Ricky Rudd's Hendrick Motorsports entry. The third choice was a Pontiac designed to look like Ken Schrader's distinctive number 25 green and white Kodiak-sponsored car, though eagle-eyed fans might have noticed that Schrader was actually driving a Hendrick Chevrolet in 1990, making this car selection somewhat puzzling. Once behind the virtual wheel, players faced a decision between tackling a single race or committing to a complete season in pursuit of the championship. Race distances offered flexibility, ranging from brief 10-mile sprints to marathon 500-mile endurance tests. The track selection included 4 iconic venues: the high-speed banking of Daytona International Speedway, the even faster Talladega Superspeedway, and the challenging road courses of Sonoma Raceway and Watkins Glen International. A full championship season consisted of 8 total races, 2 events at each of the 4 available tracks, with points accumulating according to the actual NASCAR scoring system used during that era. Here's something that might surprise modern gamers. This primitive 8-bit game included a shocking amount of vehicle customization options that would make some contemporary racing games jealous. Players could choose between manual and automatic transmissions, select either qualifying or race engine configurations, and make detailed adjustments to spoiler angles, tire pressure settings, and gear ratios. These mechanical tweaks were handled in a garage environment before each event, adding a strategic layer that went far beyond simple arcade-style racing. Following the traditional "drivers start your engines" command, races began with rolling starts that mimicked real NASCAR procedures. The on-track perspective was limited to an in-car cockpit view, though the camera switched to an overhead angle during pit stop sequences, a necessity given the era's graphical limitations. The game incorporated realistic elements like tire degradation and fuel consumption, forcing players to make strategic pit stop decisions during longer races. While NASCAR didn't have pit road speed limits in 1991, the game still included the possibility of overshooting your pit box, requiring another lap to attempt service again. Running completely out of fuel resulted in an automatic DNF, did not finish, as did crashing with damage settings enabled. But here's where it gets controversial. Elliott was the only real-world competitor represented in the game, with all computer-controlled opponents bearing fictional names. More frustratingly for players, Elliott was programmed to be nearly unbeatable. He won virtually every race that the human player didn't claim victory in. Was this realistic difficulty balancing, or just lazy programming designed to artificially inflate the challenge? To generate additional buzz around the release, NASCAR partnered with Konami to offer an intriguing, real-world contest. Any player who could provide a 35mm photograph proving they had won a championship using the most challenging settings, full race distance, manual transmission, and normal damage, became eligible to win a trip to the 1992 Daytona 500 plus a brand new Ford Thunderbird. Imagine trying to convince people today that you legitimately won a video game championship without screenshots or video evidence. In the decades that followed, the NASCAR gaming landscape exploded with dozens of titles across every imaginable platform and gaming console. Each generation of NASCAR games has passionate defenders who argue their preferred version represents the absolute pinnacle of virtual stock car racing. However, thanks to Bill Elliott's willingness to lend his name and credibility to that groundbreaking 1991 release, there's absolutely zero debate about which game deserves credit for launching this entire phenomenon. So here's the million-dollar question I want to pose to you. Do you think Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge was actually a quality game that happened to be first? Or was it simply a historically significant but mediocre experience that we remember more fondly than it deserves? And more importantly, could NASCAR gaming have taken off even faster if that first game had been developed for a more powerful system with better graphics and gameplay? What's your take? Was Elliott's game a genuine classic, or just a nostalgic footnote that benefited from having zero competition? Share your thoughts and let's settle this debate once and for all.